Margaret of Connaught was a true princess. Not only by birth, as the granddaughter of Queen Victoria of England. The more I read about her and examine old photographs, the more clearly her image emerges as that of a classic fairy tale heroine. Margaret was the eldest daughter of Prince Arthur, Queen Victoria's third son, thus she held a high position at court but had no chance of ascending to the throne of the United Kingdom. As a result, her life was peaceful, free of intrigue and turmoil. In fact, Margaret had no aspirations for such things. She was a kind, sweet, and attentive girl. In the United Kingdom, she was affectionately called Daisy, meaning Marguerite. As Margaret grew older, she became one of the most beautiful princesses in Europe, rivaled perhaps only by her younger sister. Her uncle, the king, took it upon himself to find a suitable prince for his beloved niece. He even found a couple of fitting candidates. But, true to fairy tale fashion, Margaret fell in love on her own and wanted no one other than Gustav Adolf, who had captured her heart. Fortunately, the princess's beloved turned out to be a genuine prince of Sweden, so there were no obstacles to their marriage. On June 15, 1905, a royal wedding took place in St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle, followed by grand celebrations. This brings us to Margaret of Connaught's pearls, which, judging by the princess's photographs, were among her favorite pieces of jewelry. Looking at the wedding photos of the princess, one can notice an interesting detail that sets her apart from the long line of other royal brides. She was not adorned with a multitude of sparkling jewels, diamonds, and gold. Instead, flowers completely replaced them. Even in place of the traditional tiara, her hair was crowned with a floral wreath. The only exception was a string of pearls wrapped around her neck, the same pearls Margaret had worn for several years before the ceremony. In my opinion, the bride looked simply stunning. It should not be assumed that Margaret lacked other jewels. Naturally, she owned an impressive collection of valuable jewelry and received many luxurious gifts for her wedding. Today, we will discuss her jewelry, starting, of course, with the tiaras. The diamond Connaught tiara was a gift to Margaret from her parents, the Duke and Duchess of Connaught. This exquisite piece, acquired from the jewellers at E. Wolf & Company, is a versatile piece of jewelry that can be worn as a tiara or separated into two necklaces. Upon Margaret's passing, the tiara was inherited by her eldest son, Prince Gustav Adolf. Notably, this masterpiece of jewelry was greatly admired by his wife, Princess Sibylla. Today, the tiara frequently adorns Crown Princess Victoria, as well as Princesses Madeleine and Christina. It is truly a gem in the Swedish royal jewelry collection. The necklace seen adorning Margaret in one of her portraits is part of the laurel wreath the tiara. This diamond piece, featuring a classic laurel leaf design, is by Boucheron. A similar piece can be seen in an archival photograph from the jeweler. This convertible jewel was a wedding gift to Princess Margaret from her husband's grandmother, Queen Sophia of Sweden. Sadly, Margaret never lived to become Queen Consort of Sweden. She passed away in May 1920 at the age of 38. Her jewels were divided among her 5 children. The laurel wreath necklace tiara was inherited by her third son, Prince Bertel. The tiara had to wait a long time to find its next owner. During World War II, Prince Bertel fell in love with the British commoner Lillian Davies, who was also a married woman. Although she soon divorced her first husband, Bertel faced the loss of his royal title and status if they married. The early death of his elder brother and the marriages of his other brothers to commoners left the royal family with only a handful of members. Bertel decided to remain royal. But Bertel and Lillian continued their romance in private for decades. Over time, the royal family's attitude toward marriages with commoners changed. Toward the end of King Gustav VI Adolf's life, Lillian was publicly invited to major royal events. Finally, she had the opportunity to wear the diamond laurel wreath tiara that Bertel had inherited from his mother. She first appeared in the tiara at the celebration of King Gustav VI Adolf's 90th birthday in November 1972. Lillian became a princess for years later, in 1976, when she and Bertel finally received permission to marry from his nephew, King Carl XVI Gustav. She particularly enjoyed pairing the laurel wreath tiara with another family jewel, a necklace created by transforming Queen Josephine's diamond stomacher. Princess Lilian passed away in March 2013. In her will, she ensured that the laurel wreath tiara remained in the royal family, bequeathing it to her grandniece, Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. But let us turn to another fascinating tiara, namely the ruby tiara of King Edward VII. Since Margaret was the niece of King Edward VII of Great Britain and Queen Alexandra, it is not surprising that they gifted her an incomparable ruby tiara for her wedding. If detached from its setting, it could be transformed into a necklace adorned with diamonds and rubies. Upon Margaret's death, this tiara was inherited by her second son, Prince Sigurd. Sigurd lost his royal title when he married a commoner, but the jewels left to him by his mother remained in his possession. Both of his wives, Sonia and Marianne, wore the tiara both as a diadem and as a necklace. Eventually, however, Sigurd decided to sell the tiara. Fortunately, a royal buyer emerged, Sigurd's father, King Gustav VI Adolf of Sweden. There were complications with the sale. Sigurd claimed that he had only lent the tiara to his father, while Gustav Adolf insisted the sale was legitimate. Perhaps out of a sense of guilt, the king left the tiara to Sigurd's son, Michael, when he died in 1973. Today, Queen Sylvia is the primary wearer of this piece. Besides tiaras, Margaret also possessed remarkable necklaces. Let's discuss the Egyptian necklace, a wedding gift from the King of Sweden and his wife. This necklace consists of 5 strands of pearls with emerald, ruby, and sapphire scarab cabochons, each topped with a diamond M, inspired by the couple's engagement in Egypt. After Margaret's untimely death in 1920, the Egyptian necklace was inherited by her son, Prince Bertel. Although Princess Lilian wore Margaret's laurel wreath tiara while she was merely Prince Bertel's partner, she began wearing the Egyptian necklace only after their marriage in 1976. She frequently wore it even in her later years. Currently, the necklace belongs to Queen Sylvia, although she has not worn it publicly. Perhaps the most significant pieces of Margaret's jewelry are the delicate gold bracelets worn by the descendants of her daughter, Queen Ingrid of Denmark. Throughout their lives, Princess Margaret of Connaught and her sister, Princess Patricia, wore thin gold bracelets on their left wrists. These were open bracelets rather than solid bands, with a small gap visible between the golden ends. You can see these bracelets in portraits of the sisters from their youth to their old age. In Margaret's short life, she was always seen with her bracelet. It can be spotted on her left wrist in a portrait taken shortly before her untimely death in 1920. Margaret passed down the tradition of gold bracelets to her only daughter, Princess Ingrid, who was born in 1910. According to family tradition, young princesses receive their gold bracelet on their 5th birthday. The small bracelets given to these young princesses are later exchanged for larger ones as they grow. Like her mother and aunt before her, Princess Ingrid continued to wear her gold bracelet throughout her life. King Frederick and Queen Ingrid had 3 daughters, and Ingrid used jewelry to preserve the memory of her mother for all 3. This included using one of Margaret's tiaras as the family wedding diadem and gifting gold bracelets on their 5th birthdays. Margrethe, Benedict, and Anne-Marie regularly wore their gold bracelets from childhood. Today, you can still see all 3 Danish royal sisters wearing gold bracelets. They don them on all occasions, from casual holiday moments to the grandest ceremonial events. Which piece of jewelry do you like the most? Share your thoughts in the comments.